Good afternoon, everyone. Country Flyboy here, and today, not really a tutorial so much as a demo video. We're here at Hilton Head Island Airport on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, which is just east of Savannah. It's one of my favorite places to fly, especially VFR, and the reasons is this airport has special VFR procedures. So I'm going to bring it up on screen as I talk through this. If you were to look at the airport information page in the Southeast Airport Facility Directory for this airport, down at the bottom of the remarks section, there's a special note that says, see special notices, VFR arrivals, VFR departures. Now, if you flip to the special notices section of the AFD, you will see that there are VFR arrivals and VFR departures. Now, what are these? You never will find these anywhere but the AFD, and this is the only airport I've ever seen that has them, but I haven't really looked, so there probably are other airports that have these special procedures, but I've never really seen them anywhere else, and the only place you can find the published procedure, so to speak, is the AFD. This is not with the instrument approach procedures because this is for VFR flying. So I've never seen it anywhere on Skyvector, on FlightAware, or even AirNav. Never seen these procedures. They are only available in the special notes section of the AFD. Now, what are these? Well, from what I can tell, these are quintessentially SIDS and STARS, but for VFR airplanes. Interesting, isn't it? So we're going to demo both of them. Now, I'm pretty sure runway 3 is the active runway right now because I have set default standard atmosphere with no clouds, and that should use runway 3, which is the primary runway at this airport. So we're going to demo the departure real quick. Now, departure is again brought up on screen, but let me read through it real quick. I got it printed here. I got an AFD with this in it. So departures for runway 21, which is not active. We're probably going to take off runway 21 because that's the more interesting runway. So as you can see, the airport is that white rectangle that's sort of in the middle of that 3.9 nautical mile circle. That's the runway. Now it's got these lines leading from it that go to specific points, point 1, 2, and 3. Now, which point you go to depends on which runway is in use. Obviously, if runway 3 is in use, you would go to point 1 no matter what you did. So let's look at that. Runway 3 is departure procedure is climb straight out on runway heading until over water, then turn on course. Use localizer if necessary. There is a localizer for runway 21. It's got the frequency there at the bottom. If runway 3 is in use, which is the one we're going to be taking off on, even though 2-1, not 3, even though runway 3 is in use, we're going to take 2-1. It's different depending on which direction you're heading. If you're heading north or east, which east will take you over the ocean, that's the Atlantic Ocean that way, nothing over there, except a watery grave. But anyway, if you're heading north or east, you'll take point 2. So after departure, it actually says this: fly runway heading until over the silver roof buildings, which we'll see on departure. Actually, if I go to top-down view, this scenery is not default, by the way. I made this scenery myself, and you can download it. I'll link it in the description. It's on my Dropbox, as well as on Simviation and FlightSim.com. Over there is the silver roof buildings. Those are metal storage buildings, and that is where we are going to be heading to. Once we get over them, let me switch this over to north-oriented so it'll match the diagram. Once we get over them, if we're heading to point 2, we just simply turn eastbound. If we're heading to point 3, we have to follow the Broad Creek, which is that creek right there, until we get over a bridge. Once we're over a bridge, we can turn on course. Point 3 is if we are departing westbound or southbound. Now, if we're taking off runway 3 and using point 1 on our departure, but heading southbound, it still says turn on course. So what I'm thinking it's saying is just once you get to point 1, you're most likely going to be high enough you can just turn on course. The reason for this procedure seems to be noise abatement. There seems to be a lot of noise-sensitive areas around the airport. That's the departure, so let's get underway. I'm just going to switch us over to tower's frequency on COM 1, which is on 118.975. 118.975. And we are just going to go ahead and taxi for takeoff. I'm not going to worry with ATC. I'll be...
Tower, Bombardier, November 227, Juliet 4, ready to go. Runway 3,
yeah, runway 3 is in use.
Whiskey, Romeo. Bombardier, November 227, Juliet 4, cleared for takeoff. Runway 3, service with COM.
So there's a Learjet taking off runway 3. We're going to go to 2-1 just because I want to go southbound. The more interesting departures are that way. Now we'll be taking the Broad Creek direction, heading to point 3. Alright, I'm going to pretend I'm cleared to taxi. So we'll be cleared past the line. We'll let that Learjet take off, and then we'll head out of here. Looks like he's rolling now. He's airborne. Alright, turn the landing lights on. This airplane doesn't have any strobe lights. Mixture full rich, transponder altimeter to altitude. Flaps not needed. A little bit of trim on takeoff.
Going to 125.3, Bombardier 7, Juliet 4.
Alright, I'm going to taxi into position. And I'll hold on to the runway and just real quick give you a brief rundown of what's going to happen. We're going to take off and fly runway heading until we are over the metal storage buildings. Now that's going to be hard to tell from the cockpit, so I might use the exterior view. Once we are over the metal storage buildings, I'm going to turn roughly southwestbound. We're going to follow the water over to that bridge. We need to stay over the water as much as possible. We don't want to fly over the noise-sensitive areas, so give it full power. No wind today. Rotate. Want a best rate of climb. Now you can combine this with a noise abatement departure procedure or a prop and power reduction after takeoff. They probably would encourage you to do that, but the Cessna 172N doesn't have the strongest engine in the world, so I really don't want to reduce the prop on power on takeoff. Alright, I'm going to have to use the exterior view because I cannot see those buildings for the life of me. Still got a ways to go. In real life, you'd be able to see those buildings because you could just sort of look out the window, lean your head over a bit. If you had track IR, you could do that, or an Oculus. Okay, we're roughly over them now. Now, I don't know if they want you to level off at some point, because it's really hard to see the the creek over the engine cowling. So I'll definitely be making use of the exterior views on this departure. Okay, Need to stay over the water as much as possible here. I'm just going to keep it climbing. Odds are they want you to keep climbing. That way you can get out of the noise zone quickly. Turn left a little bit. Stay over the water. Don't want to piss off the rich people. No. Definitely wouldn't want to inconvenience the rich people. No, sure wouldn't. Turn back to the right. Sorry if I'm flipping views around too much, but I need to. There's no damn way. Unless I were to level off, and even then you can't really see the creek. I'd actually have to pitch down to be able to see it. Hang to the left. The procedure is not overly hard to fly. Really, it's just interesting that I've never seen anything like this anywhere. And yeah, these procedures are pretty neat. They're essentially SIDS and stars for VFR planes. I thought that was pretty cool. Bet you never thought if you'd fly VFR you'd have to be flying a SID, huh? Alright, we're roughly over the metal storage building now. I'm gonna turn on course and we're just gonna head westbound towards Savannah International. Maybe we'll go fly over that ship over there. There's another one there, probably a couple of cargo ships. Alright, we'll level off at 3,500. That was the departure. So quick review. Took off, runway heading till we got over those buildings there. Then we followed the creek over to this bridge, and now we can do whatever. As for the other runways, well, taking off on 3 just goes straight out. But if it was the other direction, if you wanted to go north or eastbound, but like I said, there ain't nothing over there for hundreds of miles, you would take off till you got over the storage buildings, then turn to the east. Once you got over the water, you'd turn to the north, avoid overflying the island again. Now, if you're going off of runway 3 and heading southbound, you want to depart to the south, then my guess would be you go till you got the point 1 as depicted on the chart, and then you'd follow this waterway over. You'd want to avoid overflying the island. But that's just a guess. I didn't know this thing had a pulsating landing light. Anyway, let's do the arrival. Alright, that's Savannah Beach right there. That's our last waypoint on our VFR flight plan. Come on, textures. There we go. Alright, so we are now going to do the arrival into Hilton Head. Flip this over to the arrival page and bring it up on screen. So the arrival is pretty similar to the departures. I'm going to throttle back and start down. My landing light is on, fuel mixture full rich. So the arrival is pretty similar to the departure, except you're inbound instead of outbound. We'll be using point 3, which starts over that bridge. There's another point. Actually, no, we'll use point 3 because time of recording, I'm recording this off an older version of the scenery that I made. The published version does have the water tower. This version of the scenery does not have the water tower on it, though. But anywho's, so let's discuss the arrival. From point 3, we'll just land runway 3. Why not? Actually, no. Let's land runway 21. We'll have some consistency. We'll land runway 21. So angle this light here so I can actually see. For runway 21 arrivals, intercept localizer north of the island. If arriving point 1, intercept localizer northeast of the island, fly straight into runway. If necessary, to circle, fly over the airport, then the silver roof buildings, then turn left to downwind over the water. We're arriving from point 3. Note, approaching runway 21 from other areas, which is point 2 and 3. Use the approach procedure for runway 3, then assume left downwind position over the water. So let's read the runway 3 approach procedure. From point 3, enter the Broad Creek over the bridge, stay over the creek toward the silver roof buildings, then straight into the runway. We don't want to go straight in. What it wants us to do is, once we get over the silver roof buildings, we're going to join the left traffic for runway 21. I'm going to set localizer 111.3. Not really going to need it, but it'll be nice to have it set nonetheless. Alright, so let's fly this procedure. I have the entrance to Broad Creek in sight and the bridge. Alright, flying over the bridge now, which is point 3. I see the metal storage buildings, and the airport's in sight. I'm going to go ahead and call tower for landing. Actually, no, wait, we're going to land on the other runway, so no need. Leveled at 1500 because that's traffic pattern altitude at this airport for pretty much all airplanes. I don't think they separate it based on type here. Alright, we're just going to fly over the water. Again, it's really hard to tell where you're at from the cockpit view. So, making use of the exterior views here. To the right a bit. Once we get over the metal storage buildings, we'll turn eastbound and enter the pattern for 2-1. Now, the traffic pattern at this airport is not standard in more ways than one. Not only is it a right pattern if you're using runway 3, but the pattern is to be flown over the water. So instead of actually flying to particular altitudes and then turning, you fly to particular points before turning at this airport. So all patterns, when flown, you go over the metal storage building. If departing 2-1, you fly straight out till you get over the metal storage buildings. Then you turn onto the crosswind, and you fly on crosswind until you're over the water. Then you fly downwind over the water, making sure not to cross over the island. Then you stay over the water, and there's really not much of a base leg. You turn to final and land and do it all again. If coming in from runway 3, you make sure your base leg takes you over the metal storage roof buildings on your base to final turn. Really interesting procedure at this airport. Alright, we are basically flying over the metal storage buildings as we speak. Haven't heard any traffic on the radio, so the airport's pretty quiet today. We're going to turn eastbound, maintain 1,500 feet, which is the traffic pattern altitude for all aircraft at this airport. I'm pretty sure it is. You can see we're not exactly squared off with the runway. That's entirely normal. We're going to be going out a lot further than we normally would on downwind. Special airport. Like I said, there's a reason I like flying here. For one, look at it. It's absolutely beautiful, even in the winter. Number two, these procedures are fun and rare. I've yet to find any other airport like them. Alright, we're going to turn left. We're going to sort of track over the water. We don't really want to square off our downwind so much as we just don't want to fly over the island again. We want to stay over water as much as possible. So as you can see, not really 100% squared off with the airport. That's fine. That's how the procedure's flown. Now the base leg, I'm just basically going to trace the shore with my wing and then turn on the final once I get there. Runway 21 has a PAPI on the right side. 4-bar PAPI's on the right side for 21. Alright, we're just going to trace the shoreline with our airplane. And we'll throttle back now to... sure, 1500 should do it. Below 110, flaps 10. So this is about as non-standard as a traffic pattern gets. And you can see we haven't squared off with the airport like you would normally with a traffic pattern. We're following the shoreline. That's how they want you to do it here. I'm gonna belay putting the flaps down to 20. This airplane actually has a flap 40 detent as well, but I tend to use just flaps 30. The flap 40 detent gives this plane a lot of drag. Really useful on the short field stuff, though. A little bit of power. So I'm going to need to maintain some altitude as I go on to the turn to final. Now, even though we've never squared off this traffic pattern at all, we're still going to be entering the base to final turn about where you would on a normal pattern. Alright, as I turn in, flaps down to 20. As you can see, they've sort of cleared out the final of the runway. There are rich people that call and complain. Although I bet they still do. Alright. Now we're a little high. Go ahead and lower the last notch of flaps. Flaps now 30. Final approach speed 65 knots. Power out because we're still high. Pitch down, maintain 65. Power for altitude, pitch for airspeed. Again, wind's right down the runway, so no need to worry about that. Well, there ain't no wind. It's completely calm. Not bad if I do say so myself. Alright, we'll let the plane slow down. And again, if we were doing touch and go, we would go straight out on runway heading till we got over the silver roof buildings. Clear the runway on Charlie. Flaps up. Transponder to on. Mixture out for ground. Landing. Lights off. No strobe lights on this plane. Alright. Now I'm not going to talk the ground. I will tune them, but I won't talk to them. I'm just going to taxi back over to the local parking area. Anyway, that was flying the special procedures here at Hilton Head. That was a little glimpse as to why Hilton Head is a special airport. These procedures are in place. My best guess is for noise abatement. bunch of rich people live here and they complain too much, so they did something about it. If there's any other airports like this, let me know in the comments. I have yet to find another one. The way you would find this is you'd have to look in the airport facility directory, which you can get an expert of the airport information page on Skyvector. If you just look at it, bring up an airport info page on Skyvector, they have a little pop out of the AFD page for that airport. Very useful. If you see the remarks section and it says VFR arrivals, VFR departures, then look at the special notice section of the AFD, which you can get from the digital AFD thing on the FAA website. Just Google search digital AFD, you'll find it. Should be the first link. Anywho, if you find any more, let me know. These are pretty neat. I don't see them very often. Hilton Head's the only one I know of that has this. There probably are others. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. This plane turns a hell of a lot sharper than you think it does. Alrighty. Avionics, lights, and mixture. Magnetos, lights, master battery.